want to use the violence to achieve an aim. And whether you think that aim is potent or not, it's an aim. And therefore, we have a great deal of hunger for knowledge about the phenomenon beyond its military characteristics. For that reason, knowledge and research is very key to effective counterterrorism. Having said that, in the last year and a half, I have not been guided by any piece of research by a Kenyan researcher. And that's not to say I've not appreciated some of the research that I've read. That's not to say that there's not good work being done, there is. But I cannot remember a single action I've taken in counterterrorism as a result of a researcher's effort. And that's what I want to address here. Not in the spirit of criticism, but in the spirit of you understanding us better and perhaps being able to bring your considerable knowledge and hard work closer to our needs. And of course our needs will remain that way, and we're really poor at understanding your needs because the tempo is high, the need is urgent, so we need the knowledge now. So we can't go through a lot of your footnotes, and we need it almost chewed like a baby eats food. So let me make a few observations in this regard and take this to be a positive provocation. And I know sometimes, because I've been a researcher, I did my doctorate in war studies at King's College in London. So I know how it is, and I know the difficulty of getting grant money, I know the difficulty of splitting time, students, etc. I taught at the Joint Staff College. So I have some sense of where you are. First is that terrorism and counterterrorism is defined and thought through what I would call a hegemonic structure. What most of us think of terrorism is produced mostly in American universities and a few in Europe. That's pretty much it. And so when your students go and Google and do the research paper, I just skip past them and go to the original researchers themselves. And don't bother with the Google product. And the view of counterterrorism and terrorism in the United States and in the West is diverse, it's very rich, there are a lot of valuable and useful debates, and it is, in fact, is an area of knowledge to take seriously and to engage with seriously, as our Vice Chancellor here from KCA would attest to. However, it's not the only view, and it's certainly not the only series of experiences. And yet, here we are in Kenya, quite far away from Europe. But I find myself, for instance, when we deal with the question of radicalization, which is a horrible word to mean socialization and politicization into recruitment into a terrorist group or network. I find myself perpetually dealing with profiles from France, from America. So from the Manchester bombing, there's a big New York Times article that says, here's everything you need to know about Salman. So what that means is that global counterterrorism misses insights from where the actual challenge is taking place. And yet, we also know that terrorism is not merely a disease from the outside, that it very much reflects the cracks and contradictions in our own society. When a young boy from Homa Bay or from Kilifi decides to try and travel to Libya or to travel to Somalia, he's not merely reflecting the state of the global ideology and its aspirations, he's also reflecting things that are happening to him in his local environment. There's a big gap in that. And that gap, I've seen it trying to be filled with what I call opinion research. So people go and ask a bunch of people questions. They never tell us if it's a random sample or if it's a representative sample. The methodology is broadly poor. And so usually when I get a researcher's work, I skip right to the methodology part. And if that doesn't convince me, I don't even read the paper. And what then happens is that when you ask Kenyans, what's the problem? The first thing they'll tell you is that it's the government. Now, it's not that they're wrong, but it's just what Kenyans say. And then they say they're marginalized. Then they say the young men have no jobs. And then they say they want peace. And all these things are true, but every paper says the same thing. And it's hard to engage because even though we're trying to improve the economy, we're going to be a quite poor country for some time. We'd have to grow at 50% a year to become what we want to be in 5 years, which won't happen. So, what is a deeper issue? What are the specific issues that could help me understand this young person's recruitment better? And in that way, I have a great deal of sympathy for researchers. Because every researcher, every good researcher, has made their name through one discipline. And one discipline is simply not enough to understand why a young man leaves from Kilifi to go to Somalia. And because of the way we commission research and donors and universities, whoever commissions research, we individualize it. So the research is Professor Mudama. Him and his issue, international security, national security, that's his thing. But right there, he will run into religious texts that are in Arabic or that are in some other language. Perhaps he will be looking at the Malindi area and will be seeing the relationship between Giriama and Waswahili, or between the practice of Islam there. Not because Islam is a problem, but because it's exploited in a very particular way. So if indeed we're to counter radicalization, how should we do it? So we need to, first of all, I think, form multidisciplinary teams to work on peace and security issues. All research, or most research, should be done by multidisciplinary teams. And you should always have a historian in the team. Historians are the marginalized champions of understanding our society. And if you're able to have that multidisciplinary team, you should also be joined by a practitioner. There are a lot of high quality, high knowledge, retired military, intelligence, and police officers in this country. You should always try and have them in your research project. Not for them to go around doing a lot of research, but for them to work with you to shape a piece of research that will speak specifically to their former colleagues. Not because that's the end of the world, the research will also go out there to scholars and to continue the academic debate, which is very important. But to speak to the counterterrorism people, there's a good chance that you may want to have a retired or present counterterrorism person working with you. And you'll be able to shape a piece of policy research that really has an impact on how we work. The other thing is to decide on the thin line between advocacy and policy research. I appreciate the needs for advocacy. I really appreciate the needs for change within the security sector and within our national setup. And I take all those challenges and advocacy to change well. But ultimately, my job is a very specific job that needs to get specific things done. And that is what I spend 95% of my time doing. And so the extent to which you're able to understand the line between advocacy and policy research, and it's a very thin line and sometimes it doesn't even exist because indeed you want a certain policy to be instituted. But you should be able to see that my work takes place within a geopolitical context, and within that geopolitical context, there's a rallying and jockeying for interests and power between us and other states and between us and non-state actors. In other words, it's a very realistic and it's somehow a brutal world. So your intelligence needs to speak to these capabilities that we need. And that doesn't mean you don't advocate, of course. There's an overwhelming focus on funding, and a lot of funding comes from donor agencies. And those donor agencies, I understand them very well. They are people by many of my friends, and they tend to have a very particular view of the world. And that feeds through in how the research that they seek to do. And I'm not going to say here, all this research is just merely a cover for hard security interests. Sometimes it is, but I think most of it isn't. But what happens is you find researchers desire the research they want to do and the resources they have available sometimes deviate in important ways, and that doesn't help our researchers. So our government first has a role to play in that, but I also think universities have a real role to play in that and should actually invest a lot more in original research, because the lack of original research means that the policy research itself sometimes rests on really, really thin ground. I'm coming to an end. I also believe universities need to have more professors of practice. I've seen this happening elsewhere, and it's a valuable contribution to an academic community. Not just because somebody was in the military or the police and then got a PhD and then became an academic, but specifically a professor of practice who is understood to be there for practice. They may not publish a lot of papers, but they will leave the students and the rest of the faculty quite enriched. Then finally, there are some skills that are happening. I went to school for an awfully long time. In fact, too long. And I am continuously shocked that after all that time in school, I can't even make my own website. It's absurd. There are certain key skills that I think every researcher in this time in our era is going to need. Pretty much every researcher who doesn't work in archives is going to need some data science, some understanding of how to use numbers. Not because they are quantitative analysts, but because you're running into a lot of data in almost every field you look at. You've got to have some degree of comfort with data. Two, Kenyans are great with our national languages. We're pretty poor at international languages. And that, I think, limits us in important ways. I always imagine that the archives in China and archives somewhere in the Middle East have a wealth of knowledge that we need to know. And I sometimes wonder who works within them, who brings together these historians who may be engaged with one another. I would really like, for instance, to understand the history of slavery in Kenya, or in this area called Kenya, and its relation to the Middle East, and its relation to militarism through the ages, the relation between the Kenyan coast and the Ottoman Empire. These are things that they sound obscure, but when you see the state visits from certain parts of the world coming to Kenya, and you don't quite understand the history that anchors, the geopolitical history that anchors those visits, but the person coming understands them, you know that your country is at a disadvantage. Let me finish by saying that we welcome you to engage with us. I have had a long-standing invitation to people to come and do lunchtime presentations to me and my team, but usually it starts with people producing a piece of work that I think is useful to us. We need a great deal of understanding of this phenomenon of radicalization. We need to get beyond this idea that it's caused by marginalization. It's just not true. And we need to have a better understanding of the dynamics that are leading to some of this phenomenon. Your country needs you, and your country needs your minds and your efforts and your facilities. And I'm very happy and I welcome a chance to build bridges between researchers and the national counterterrorism community in as much as I'm able to. With that, thank you so much, and I wish you a very stimulating and productive conference. Thank you.
Thank you.